Hello there ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's Alexander Hilly123 here and it's time for a new video, and as you can see from the title today, it is time for a new pickups video, a new vinyl pickups video that is, and I think it's been about 3.5 months since my last vinyl pickups video, and just like with my gaming pickups, the rule is 5 vinyls every video, just like in the games, the gaming pickup videos, it's 5 games every video, but I am going back on that rule today because it's a bumper edition, because I've got 7 vinyls to show you guys. How exciting, and we're going to go through them all. I thought about just showing 5 and then leaving the last 2 that I purchased, the last 2 out of the 7, to the next video, but I just thought, no, you know what, I just want to show them all off right now, because I'm not going to give the number away, but it was a very special birthday for me just last week, and throughout my birthdays the last 10 years or so, I haven't gotten much. I don't really like celebrating my birthday. I don't get much for my birthday because this was a special number. I got 3 vinyls. I'm very spoiled, but like I say, it's a very special number. And I'm a very special man. So, I'm excited to show these off for you, and I'm excited as well to show off my blueberries. Because I love blueberries. And some water as well. I'm very thirsty today. I had a fat takeaway a few days ago, and I'm still reeling from it, to be honest with you. It was a burger that was about that big. Anyway, it's all in balance, kids. It's all about the balance. So, obviously, what we do, if you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, is we go from the furthest first, meaning the furthest away that one I picked up. Sorry, as you can see, it's a nighttime video, and that does heighten the chance of me talking complete bullshit because I am so tired, so just bear with me. But please, guys, bear with these guys. It is, of course, Pearl Jam. The lighting in here is very dark. I've just got my lamp on, but you can see the vinyl, and you know this bloody album. Even though it doesn't show the title on the front cover, this is, of course, Pearl Jam's debut album called 10. And what would you know? I think there are 10. Wait a minute, 3, 4, 5. There aren't 10 songs on here. Well, it should have been called 11. Fuck you, Eddie Vedder. But this is, of course, an absolute masterpiece, and I like a lot of Pearl Jam's music, even after the grunge era. So I say after the 3rd album, Vitology, No Code, that was 1996. That was the first album which wasn't really what you'd call a grunge album, and that's obviously 2 years after Cobain had blown his own head off. But well, I don't know what to say. He quite simply did, but saying it like it is. But yeah, this is still their best album for me. There's a lot of passion and honesty that went into the music here. The bass playing, the guitar playing. Heavily inspired, I'd say, by Jimi Hendrix, the guitar playing on this particular album, but within that grunge sound that was obviously all the rage back in the early mid-90s. And Eddie Vedder's vocals are at the best. Some people hate his vocals. I don't know how you could, personally. But you've got the classics here that everyone knows, like Even Flow, Alive, which is going to be one of the best solos of all time, in my opinion. Jeremy, which is a song that I never get tired of listening to. That outro is just incredible. The true story behind the actual song, if you don't know, Google it. It's very harrowing and just giving me goosebumps every time. But then you got tracks like Porch, Garden. My favourite track on this album is the last track, and it's so nice to be able to say that because this album's got a fantastic, delicate balance of hard rockers, ballads, more slower pieces, heavier pieces, and you know, Eddie's vocals are amazing throughout. The whole band are amazing. But Release, the last song on the album, which is about his dad that he never really got to know, it's on another level. It's one of my favourite songs of all time. It's fucking amazing. In terms of other vinyls from Pearl Jam, I love Yield. I think that's a great album. Binaural, incredibly underrated. And also Verses. I don't think they've really done anything great in a long time, though. And they should really be calling it quits these days. But ladies and gentlemen, this man has never called it quits, because he's been making music in his bedroom for over 30 years. I've got this as a t-shirt now. I've got the vinyl. It's Aphex Twin, the ambient selected ambient works 85 to 92, and he made most of this album, Richard D. James, who is the Aphex Twin, when he was in his mid-teens. He made some of the music off old games consoles. I can't remember if it was some kind of Atari or some shit. But his genius knows no bounds. This album really is this good. It's certainly not ambient, even though it's in the title. He made an album after this in 1994, Selected Ambient Works 2, which is more ambient, I'd say. There's no real drum beat. There's one or two tracks that have drums in them and a bit of a melody, if you will. But overall it doesn't. But this album does. It's not really ambient, but it's just chill electro, a little bit of techno and trance in there as well. Very nuanced though. And it's just incredibly consistent. And it shows off all sides to his music. He manages to make music and certain tracks that have, I don't know, like a sentimentality of them and a real nostalgic feeling, if you will. But then absolutely ridiculous. All in the same track, sometimes separate tracks. If anyone's heard Milkman, they'll know what I'm talking about. There's a song off Drux, I think that's how it's pronounced, in 2001, where his mum and dad are singing him Happy Birthday, and then there's this absolutely gorgeous instrumental, which I can't remember the name of, after that particular track, and it's just amazing. He's made so much great music. I still think this is possibly the best thing he's ever done, but for vinyl, with Aphex Twin, yeah, I could really go for 3 or 4 more vinyls of his, but I had to start where it all started, for him, with 8592. And, he's still making good music now. Cyro was a pretty good return. Not the best thing he's done, but it was a pretty good return. I really like everything he's done. And also as AFX as well. And he's got so many other aliases, but this is his best. Delighted to have gotten it on vinyl. It's quite a long vinyl session listening to that. It's well over an hour long, that one. But I didn't get bored. Incredible album. Right, so I purchased those 2, and I purchased the next 1, 2... But the last 3, like I say, I had purchased for me. Obviously, I had to tell my mum that those were... I gave her a selection. He said, you know what, it's your birthday. You can have 3 vinyls. I thought, fucking hell, okay. So I gave her a massive list of about 20. And then she obviously got the most cheapest. No, but just got me any of that selection. And of course, I'm incredibly grateful. But the next one, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this will be allowed on YouTube. They didn't allow it in the Americas. The American version of this, I don't know what the front cover actually is. I need to Google it, but just check it out on Google, online, and you'll see that it's very different. Here, of course, we've got the glove on the booty. And this is the Strokes, I should say, with Is This It? Probably should have mentioned that before. And there are the boys in the background. And I've been a fan of the Strokes for a long, long time now, probably since I was in my mid-teens. I remember... the 3rd album, which was, I think, First Impressions of Earth. I remember loving, was it You Only Live Twice and Heart in a Cage, and there's another track from that album which is an absolute banger. I remember being a big fan of them then when I was like 16, but it was a few years later, when I was in my late teens, that I got all the songs off Is This It and Room on Fire, I think their second album was. And the last 2 albums, 2010 and 2013, have a few good tracks on here and there, but they're not the same. They've added electronic influence, and I just don't think they're the same band. But unlike so many other indie rock bands, and like Alex Turner of the Arctic Monkeys did say on a song on one of the Arctic Monkeys' last albums, I can't remember which track it was, he only wanted to be one of the Strokes. And I just thought that was such a great line, because so many of these shit indie bands that came after the Strokes did just want to be one of the Strokes. But these guys can actually play their instruments. Bassist's great, the drummer's great, guitarists are great, Casablancas vocals really fit the bill. Interesting, maybe the lyrics are kind of obscure, but they're about relationships and everyday things, all in one track at times, and they're easy to listen to, they're so catchy, but they're so talented. I don't think they'll ever match this. I also love Room on Fire. In terms of vinyls from the Strokes, I'm not sure I'd want anything else on vinyl, because First Impressions of Earth is a little bit... It's got amazing tracks on it, and then it's got some really shit tracks, in my opinion. But Room on Fire, just as good, nearly, as this. Is This It? The Modern Age, Soma, Burley Legal, Someday, Alone Together, Last Night, Hard to Explain, New York City Cops, not Cox, Trying Your Luck, Take It or Leave It. And New York City Cops is on this version of the album, but in the US it was replaced by a song called When It Started, which is actually my favourite Strokes track. And the reason being, this came out around the time of September 11 in 2001, Twin Towers, and the song lyrics are New York City cops, they ain't so smart. Of course, it's got nothing to do with the attacks and Twin Towers, but they just thought they'd change it and put a new song in the US version. There you go. Both great tracks, and I love the Strokes. Such a great album to listen to. I think the runtime is like 40 minutes as well, if that. Really short tracks, so damn good. Shame about the shit bands that came after them, tried to imitate them. But ladies and gentlemen, could there be any imitators of this album? This vinyl, it isn't like a shiny vinyl. Obviously, when I show you guys the album covers, they're always in the plastic cases. Down with plastic! But this one is a matte finish. Oh, yes, it is. So it looks amazing. And of course, it looks amazing because it's Pink fucking Floyd. Emphasis on the fucking. And this is Dark Side of the Moon. And the insides, I never show you guys the insides these days, the vinyls, because I can't be arsed. But you know what? For this particular one, you deserve it. But you probably won't be able to tell because the lighting's so bad. Like I say, it's matte. That is a matte feel. And it is beautiful to look at, beautiful to touch. And look at the bloody insides as well. Oh, that's immense. Lyrics all on there as well. And it's a masterpiece. And a lot of people, I don't think they're trying to be cool. I'm not going to be a hipster. Some people genuinely prefer Wish You Were Here, and that's absolutely fine because that's an amazing album as well. But for me, Dark Side of the Moon is still the best. And in terms of Pink Floyd, I listened to them a lot when I was younger, in my late teens, early 20s. I don't listen to them that much anymore, but sometimes that's just the way it goes with certain artists. You have time away from them, and when you come back years later, which is the way it is for me now, as I, enter into my 30s, I can have years away from these artists and then come back and it's like, oh my lord, this is utterly immense. But this is an album that I always return to. And I'd also say that Medal, I won't say it is underrated. Real Pink Floyd fans know how good that album is, but I think Echoes is on that track. It's a 24-minute song, basically, Echoes, and it's a true masterpiece. It's amazing. I think that was on Echoes, but I'm not sure. Anyway, Wish You Were Here is good as well. Animals and The Wall. The Wall, for me, it's a bit of a Roger Waters wankfest, as Pink Floyd did become, but there's still some good tracks on there. And I even like Momentary Lapse of Reason and The Division Bell. I think The Division Bell is better. I think lyrically it was a bit more vague and generic without Waters, but musically it was great because, it was still David Gilmour. But this is my favourite Pink Floyd, and the song, the track listing, bloody hell. I absolutely adore Any Colour You Like. That is possibly my favourite instrumental track of music ever. And of course, the psychedelic instrument elements of it all. I think this was either the album... No, it wasn't. Of course it wasn't. Where Syd Barrett came into the studio. That was Wish You Were Here. But he wasn't... I don't think he's even in this album. Like, he wasn't a member of the band, but they've not even mentioned him here either. When it was recording back in 1972, 1973. But by that time, I'm not being funny, but the man was a complete potato, unfortunately. He just fried his brain. But yeah, it's so psychedelic, and there's lyrics about life here, and about getting old on the I know. Time is one of the most poignant tracks ever, and there's not many pieces of music that I call depressing, but fuck me, that's depressing. But for me, I'm going to skip all the album. We've got 3 more vinyls to talk about. I just want to talk... And I talked about this when I shared it on Instagram, this particular vinyl, the picture of it. The transition from Brain Damage into Eclipse, the last track, is possibly my favourite moment in music history. Brain Damage is the one where he's going, the lunatic, he's on the grass, remembering games and daisy chains and laughs, got to keep the loonies on the path. And it's about insanity as well. I don't know, I just love it. And then Eclipse, every single line starts with and. All that you see, all that you touch, all that you taste, everyone you fight, all that is life. It's goosebump inducing, it's incredible. I don't need to tell you about the bass, the guitar, Richard Wright on the keyboards, absolute legend. May he rest in peace. And Roger Waters, as much as it is, and complete arsehole, was so important for the band as well. Masterpiece. And I've got it. Dark Side of the Moon, ladies and gentlemen. Still not listened to... The last vinyl I listened to, my next one is actually Dark Side of the Moon. That's where I'm up to. I take my time, can't you tell? But ladies and gentlemen, the next 3 Like I say, my mother purchased them for me on a list of about 15. So a list of 15, these are the 3 that I got. And you know what? I'm delighted with all 3. Because this is Massive Attack with Mezzanine, the 1998 album. The Trip Hop, I think they were a trio by this stage. I think Tricky had left them. And it's just the Big Daddy G, what a name, and that guy is a Big Daddy G. I love his vocals, but he doesn't do many tracks. You can't exactly call it singing what he does, but there's just such an atmosphere to his vocals, and they're cool as fuck. And then there's Robert Del Naja, who's quite simply good at what he does, and so many guest appearances. It's I think his name is Horace Andy, guy with reggae vocals, and I'm not a big fan of reggae, to say the least. But it's more so the music and not the vocals. I don't like the jangly nature of it. I don't like ska music. I don't like punk music. Punk, ska, reggae. 3 types of music I've never been interested in. And I don't think I ever will, to be honest with you. But if you take away the music and just leave the trip hop sound, Massive Attack, Horace Andy, you know, he's always collaborated with Massive Attack. I don't know if he was on Blue Lines, that was the first album back in '91, but I know he was on Protection, the second album. He's been on this, and every album since then, just a few tracks. There is also The Woman from Cocteau Twins. I really like one Cocteau Twins album. I can't remember her name, and I do apologise. Maybe I can find her in the... No, I cannot. I don't know her name. I can't remember it. Is it Alison? No. I do apologise, but she's got gorgeous vocals, and she's on a track here. I think it's Dissolved Girl, maybe. But my favourite track on this is with Horace Andy. It's an absolute banger. It's the one I'm going to get you to listen to right now if you've never listened to Massive Attack. It's called Man Next Door. I absolutely love singing along to that one. I'm going to spur you. I'm not going to sing along now, but it is so good. And Tricky basically left Massive Attack, if you don't know, because they moved away from the hip-hop roots to make a more darker sound. This is definitely an atmospheric, darker album, much more so than the previous material. It's a bit brooding, I would say. Everyone knows Angel. Everyone knows Teardrop, of course. It's absolutely classic beyond belief. Black Milk might be the track that the woman from Cocteau Twins sings on, actually. There's an instrumental there called Exchange. And then there's the same version with Horace Andy doing the vocals on it. Rising Sun, Inertia Creeps. She's creeping up slowly. Such a great album. If I had to choose between Massive Attack and Portishead, because I do have a Portishead album, I think I'd just about choose Portishead. But to be honest with you, despite being both from Bristol, and despite being labelled as trip hop, they are quite different, I'd say. And I prefer Portishead if I had to choose. Because Beth Gibbons, come on. What a woman. And next up, ladies and gentlemen, one I certainly didn't expect, and it is such a classic album. In terms of production, it is right up there. Obviously, Massive Attack, Portishead, it's called trip hop, but there's nothing conventional hip hop in my collection since I got Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders. This, however, changes it. And there it is. And it doesn't even have the title on the front. It is DJ Shadow with Introducing, and there's a lot of samples on this, typically, as is usually the case with hip-hop, but the production is very dank. I think the kids would say this is dank production. It just gives you a nighttime feel. I think there's a track called Midnight in a Perfect World, and it's just head-bobbing stuff, man. It's just so good. And of course, there are vocals on a lot of these tracks, and then there's some that are instrumental. They've all got weird names, and I do apologise, I can speak about this one less. I'd say, out of all my collection, this is the album, because obviously with a vinyl collection I'm getting everything that I adore. I do love this album, but there's one or two tracks I'm not as keen on and I don't know quite as well. But yeah, there's quite a few tracks here that are like 8 to 10 minutes, and they're meandering all over the place. But I think it's the production that sets this apart from a lot of other similar albums. And obviously, DJ Shadow is just that. He's a DJ. He doesn't rap himself, I don't think. I might be wrong. He did another album after this called Private Press in 2002. And that's a pretty solid album. If you like Introducing, you should still give that a go. It's similar but different at the same time. I know that doesn't make sense, but you'll be able to hear elements of Introducing in the Private Press, but it's also different at the same time. He made a few albums after that, but they didn't really get good reviews, and I think I don't know what the fuck he does these days, to be honest with you. He's not made an album in quite a long time. And lastly, in this list, ladies and gentlemen, here is a man who also, unfortunately, has not made an album in a very long time. Because, unfortunately, he quite simply wasn't able to. It's one of music's biggest ever losses, if you ask me. Who knows what he would have done next? And I've just watched a little snippet of an interview with Chris Cornell, who's now left us as well, who said that he could have gone in so many directions musically. He could have gotten into hard rock, and even though the grunge era had passed, he could have played hard rock. He could have also played a lot of other different kinds of mellow music as well. The world was his oyster, ladies and gentlemen. It is, of course, as you expected, Mr. Jeff Buckley with Grace, his one and only true solo album. There is a posthumous album released in 1998 called Sketches for My Sweetheart the Drunk, I think. And had he been alive, he would have never wanted it released in that state. There are a few absolute bangers on that album. One called Vancouver, one called Nightmares by the Sea, which my favourite band of all time, Catatonia, did a creepy cover of. I'd have to say I do prefer Jeff's original, but Catatonia did a really good cover. And there's also a track called You and I. You should listen to that. If you want to be creeped out, listen to it. It is so minimal. Jeff Buckley, You and I. Give it a listen. Whew. It's minimal. It's beautiful. His vocals, on another level. Incredibly operatic and just like... That's not what he sounds like, because that sounds some kind of dying dinosaur or some shit. But... you know what I mean? Very operatic, but at the same time... If he wanted to grace, see what I did there? Grace a track with a soothing vocal and make it all calm and shit, he could do that too. You know, everyone talks about the cover of Hallelujah. Absolutely beautiful, of course. Leonard Cohen, maybe he will join my vinyl collection one day. But the real cover on this, and I thought it was a Nina Simone song, but she covered it as well. I can't remember who the original is by, but it was made in 1950. And it's a song called Lilac Wine, apparently been a lot of other covers, but his version, his interpretation of it is absolutely beautiful. And I'll actually listen to it today for the first time in quite a while. And there's goosebumps all over this album, but like I said, there's the more melancholic side. There's also Corpus Christi Carol, and some of these come off as kind of religious. There's a religious feel there, and I'm guessing he wasn't a religious man. I'm not a religious man. It isn't a religious album, but you'll just know what I'm talking about. It is an old school, not exactly folk song, but it's an old carol, like the song suggests. And not only that track, but a few of his other melancholic moments here come off just like that. Maybe it was just because it was an influence of his, I don't know. But Mojo Pin and Eternal Life, they are two rockers on this album. Dream Brother, which is just so beautiful. So Real, Last Goodbye and Grace, everyone obviously knows. Hallelujah. Love You Should Have Come Over. When I was younger, I didn't really like that track. It's like 7.5, 8 minutes long. It's probably the most progressive song on here, I'd say. But now, I do like it. But if you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, there was a song that was a B-side. I don't know the full story. I can't remember right now because this video has been going over 22 fucking minutes. But there's a song called Forget Her. If you've never listened to it, give it a listen, because it's my favourite Jeff Buckley song. Just like, what album was it before? Oh yeah, The Strokes. Is this it? When It Started, my favourite Strokes song, not on the album. Forget Her, my favourite Jeff Buckley song, and it's not on this album. But so we've got some nice lyrics there as well. Always cool when they do that. I think one of those gentlemen is called Gary Lucas. He worked on a few of these tracks as well. And just what an absolute tragedy, you know. What was he doing out there? He just get caught out from the shore? I don't know, man. It's just unbelievable, innit? What would he have done? We'll never know, ladies and gentlemen, but that is why we listen to music, and that's why we hope that this modern day will give us some new stars who have got the quality, because it's very easy for me to be down on modern music, and to be honest with you, I am. But every so often new artists do pop up, and when they've got something special, It's so exciting because music is so important. And when I was younger, in my teens and into my early mid-20s, I got into music at such an easy rate. I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting into that. Boom, few weeks of listening, love that band, love that artist. It doesn't happen to me anymore, and that is true. It's a fact, not for everyone obviously, but a lot of people by the mid to late 20s get stuck in the ways, and what music like then is going to stay with them mainly forever. Of course, there are albums that come in and out of our lives, but yeah. Well, there we have it. Obviously, usually it's 5 videos per 5 vinyls per video, and for the next video it certainly will be. But that might be around Christmas time. I already know the next 2 vinyls. One is a heavy metal one, because I've not had a heavy metal one, and another hip hop one. But until then, guys, I will see you soon. Bye bye.